I think it's start. Why we need the Deschutes Public Library District Board. Welcome everyone, including family, staff, friends, and new and returning. Our first order of business is the oath of office for all of you. So if you want to come up here, stand your front. Forward, yeah, forward. And I will administer the oaths. This is very exciting. Forgot it was all. You solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. And I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Oregon, the Constitution of the State of there and the policy of the Deschutes Public Library District. During faithfully and impartially discharge, I will faithfully and impartially discharge the responsibilities of the office. The responsibilities of the office of Deschutes Public Library of the Deschutes Public Library. Congratulations.
Turn to check our. Sound great. That will be the microphone speaking. Remember the speaker is speaker. Well, you guys can hear now. Oh, okay. Right, yeah, I think we're good.
Okay, great. Okay. Now, our first order of business is election of officers, and for the coming year. I neglected to ask people at the last meeting or alert people to the fact that this was coming up, so I kind of did an informal poll of returning board members. And normally people serve in their positions for it's a year term, but we normally repeat those terms for the second year. And so I'm willing to serve a second year as president, and Betsy has served as our vice president. She would serve, and I would, based on that, look for nominations.
I nominate Ann Malcolm for president and Betsy Tucker as vice president. Second promotion.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Betsy, for being able to serve. Our next up is our consent agenda, which consists of the minutes for the June 11th meeting and the budget hearing minutes and our district disbursements. Has everyone had a chance to review those in the board packet? Are there any additions or corrections? Okay, this is the one I was trying my best to explain things as we go along, and Todd will also. But if you have questions about what we're doing or why we're doing it, please feel free to ask, or words that people are using, because there's all kinds of lingo that get used. And so if you have any questions at any point, just be sure to ask either now or after the meeting. So the consent agenda is the only thing on the agenda that we have to have a roll call vote. So I'll take the roll.
I'll make a motion first.
Oh, okay, sorry.
To approve the consent.
Do I hear a second?
I will second.
Any discussion? All right, now.
Okay.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
And Lights.
Here.
These. Trimble.
Ah,
Okay.
okay. We're now at the point where members of the public may address the board. Do we have any members of the public present who would like to?
Yes. We are.
Okay. Next up, we have executive limitations. These are, doing the business of the board, and we try to have an education component about what's going on in the library, and this one is directly related to our community involvement monitoring report, which you'll learn more about during the orientation, what these monitoring reports consist of, and our system of governance that we use. So Todd, would you like to?
Yeah, so I've been talking more about community involvement. Started as a board invitation, the board set up, making sure that we were actually out and involved in the community. And kind of started as making sure I was, but it was very hard. And our staff is doing that. So we started pulling together, and you've seen it's a very long list. And what we found most effective for the board is actually having, rather than just sitting in a line on a piece of paper, having people we partner with actually talk a little bit about the impact of that. And I'm really excited to have Sarah with us today. I think Sarah, you can correct me, but I think we're about 10 years working with you. And this started off, when we started this, there were basically 3 libraries in the United States that had social services component in the library. And it was San Francisco, Boston, and Denver. And so it was very unique for us to start this. And we partnered with Sarah to actually start providing services, and I'm not going to steal your plan. But from that, Sarah grew a really vibrant organization, but she'll tell more about that as well. But it's been such a wonderful partnership for us. A lot of the partners that we bring to you, we're kind of a benefit to them. Proactive to worry is something that is a huge benefit to a lot of the library and to the community. So Sarah, I'm gonna let you talk a little bit about what you do.
Wonderful. I think that was my introduction, correct?
Yes.
Okay, it's pretty broken up on my end.
Oh.
So hopefully you can hear me okay. Am I coming
Yeah.
through all right?
Mhm.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Todd. And you're absolutely right. Thrive wasn't incorporated until 2016, but I started with the library, right about 10 years ago, even a little sooner. So thanks again for letting us pilot this project with you. So I'm the founding director of Thrive Central Oregon. I love the work we get to do. And that work is meeting with the community in public spaces, primarily our libraries, and then working to connect individuals to the resources they seek. Our resource knowledge is really targeted towards supporting folks that have low or no income, and connecting them to sustainable housing and resources that they identify thereafter. When we started, it was just myself at the downtown library, and then at the Redmond Library. Now there are 20 of us, and we are across all of Central Oregon, including 8 weekly sites at the libraries. So the library makes up more than half of the weekly outreach sites that we do, and has really proven to be like such an amazing space where people are naturally like drawn and comfortable and feel safe and welcome. And while they're there, they're able to connect with us for free, with one of our advocates to connect to housing and other resources they seek. So it's been really fun. It's really exciting. And it's fun for me when I pop back into the library. I don't do much of our outreach sites. I really don't do any of our outreach sites anymore. But when I do come to the library, it's so fun to see the library staff that I was there with 10 years ago. And it's fun to have those relationships. And my team gets so much support from your team at the library, with those warm handoffs with library staff that have met with individuals or have individuals that are regulars in their spaces. And then one of my staff come in and they're able to introduce and make that connection. And those kind of connections are really amazing for us. And really start the relationship off positively. I pulled some data. So if you'll give me a few more minutes, I wanted to share some data with you all. One of them well, I'll get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. In the last year, we provided over 1,500 appointments out of the libraries. That's huge. So that was 1,500 appointments out of the libraries. So we are at the downtown, East Bend, Lapine, Sisters, and Redmond libraries. We're at those spaces total 8 times a week, and we're able to provide that many appointments to people in the community through them. The really cool piece of data that we found that is news to me, and I'll be honest, it was a couple hours ago that I said to our program manager, like, oh, I want to take data. Can you please pull me some data? And the really cool thing is that she found that 43% of the people we work with make their first connection through the library. That's amazing. Like, so it really just shows that that model works. Across our program, we provided over 9,000 appointments in the last year. 43% of people are finding us for the first time at the library. And then a lot of times that goes, our libraries, our outreach sites at libraries are set up for generally 3-hour blocks of time, and folks come in and they sign up for a 30-minute slot. And so it's a great time to start to meet someone, start to get their story, get more information to follow up. And then a lot of times that follow-up is a scheduled appointment or a phone appointment. But a huge number of people are making the connection through our public libraries, through your public libraries. So yeah, thanks for having us. I never would have imagined it would have grown the way it has. Super grateful to have the funding and support and sustainability that we do. So we will keep showing up as long as that all exists. I don't know if there's time for questions or if you had planned on that, Todd, but I'm happy to take questions if there are any.
You do, and I actually have a question for you. Hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
Do you have a sense for kind of a general types of questions that you get, connections that people are looking for when they come to the library?
Yes. Yeah, and I'll speak kind of in generalities. Well, it's kind of easy. 80% is housing. So across our sites, the only place we see that change a little bit is our work in Warm Springs, which obviously isn't connected to your libraries. But 80%, a little over 80% of the requests people come in with are housing. And specific to, either maintaining housing, like the rent is going up, but someone's fixed income isn't, or obtaining housing, like they had to move from somewhere or they moved to the area because they heard it was great. It is great, and it can be hard to find housing. So 80% of what we're doing is housing. After that would come, I would say, like health connections, health resources. So help with health insurance, maybe finding a mental health provider that takes your insurance. And then we do a lot of work around like basic needs, helping folks connect to a phone or get a utility bill paid, child and family supports, helping with like maybe connecting to childcare resources, or maybe some basic needs, laundry assistance, things like that. But far and away it's housing. Almost everyone that comes to see us is housing. And then there's always like, there tends to be a few other things that are connected. If you see a nose popping up here, this is my dog. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. Typically, how long is the length of your relationship with a client?
I would group it into 3 categories. We have a smaller amount of people that will come and see us just like once or twice. And it might, well, if it's once or twice, they usually have like pretty high resources and access to what they need, but maybe have some specific questions to the region or to housing and how that works. And then the bulk of people we're probably working with for like 6 to 12 months. And that's usually like the amount of time it takes to, and this is, I mean, I'm speaking generalities, but like to get someone through a waiting list process, get them on, you know, housing applications, wait for those to come through, get them into housing. And then we have a smaller group of people on the other end that we might work with for like 2-3 years. And that tends to be like someone who comes in and the housing barriers are high and their income and resources are really low. And so it's just a longer process. So it's a different kinds of waiting lists that we're getting on that are longer because they're subsidized. But yeah, the bulk of people we're working with is in that like 6 to 12 month range.
I have a question too. Are there any other facilities that you use other than the libraries for your primary meeting places with your clients?
Yes, so let's see. We have so sometimes we'll use like affordable housing complexes, so apartment complexes. Right now we're at Stillwater Apartments in Bend. We're the Jefferson County Health Department. That's a good fit for us in Madras. And turned out to be kind of just a better fit than the library there. For various reasons, like space and accessibility and who was frequenting that site to begin with. In Warm Springs, we're at the Housing Authority. But yeah, otherwise, we're really in libraries. Yeah,
Thank you.
there's something like so soft and special about libraries, and we all know this, but it's just like, it's not intimidating. You don't, you know, it doesn't feel like a stiff agency, a government organization, like something that people might be nervous about or feel uncomfortable with. So it's such a welcoming space. It's a perfect fit for us.
Yeah, I had a question about what your funding base is and how you manage to grow that so that you have the staff that you have.
Yeah. So there was a big shift in COVID for us, where prior to COVID, our funding was coming more from housing like foundations. And then with COVID, there was this really strong connection that health outcomes can be better supported with housing. So all of a sudden there was this shift that instead of getting more money for us, like housing money, health was saying, hey, like you can help us get vaccine information out to the public. You can help us help people, like connect to people to shelter in place. So that was the first time that we'd ever been awarded funds through the Oregon Health Authority. And now, like the Oregon Health Authority, Pacific Source, the Central Oregon Health Council are our primary funders, because it's all health related. So it's those social determinants of health where they're saying like, oh, we're going to have better health outcomes. Like people can stay on their medication, they can keep their doctor's appointments, they can follow through with the treatment plan because they're housed. And frankly, health has a bigger bucket of money to share than housing. And so we've found really good stability with that. I am also our grant writer. So I absolutely have like questions right now about some changes, and super grateful that we're in the state of Oregon. There's a lot of progressive policies and progressive ideals and health money that's pretty stable at this point. So far we're good. We keep signing big contracts that that go into the next couple of years. So I'm hopeful that that continues. A little side note I'll add is, in the course of doing our work, we've really just gotten really good at connecting people to housing and getting them housed. And through that, we've been able to pick up a number of fee-for-service contracts in our communities. So probably 40% of our budget is fee-for-service contracts. And some of that is contracts like Pacific Source saying, help our members connect to housing and we'll pay you to do that. But we also have some really fun and creative contracts. One of them is with COCC, where they contract with us to provide the services that we do, but on campus to their students. So most of those, so that's 20 hours a week at the Bend, and we just added Redmond and Madras campuses. So that's a really fun project for us to be able to support college students that have low income and are struggling with housing insecurity. Another really cool contract we have is with the district attorney's office. And they have a program for young people that have a first criminal offense. And if they can graduate a program, that offense doesn't go on their record. And they were really struggling with that and realized, well, if someone doesn't have like a car or an ID or a house, like it's hard for them to make it to class or like check off these boxes to graduate this program. So they started contracting with us a few years ago. And now one of our advocates is working with young people in that program and helping them graduate the program through like the support of Thrive Services for housing and stability and resources. So it's fun.
That's
It's
fascinating.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions? I think that's all our questions. Thank you for being such a val.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really appreciate all you do, and I know it has, you've demonstrated it has huge ripple effects throughout our community.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like the partnership is just like, yeah, really appreciated. And there's lots more about us on our website. There's a lot of cool stuff on there too, if you feel like checking it out. You're welcome to, but I'll let you go. Have a great rest of your meeting. Thanks for the invite.
Thanks.
Bye.
Do you want to introduce the?
Yep.
Report?
So, as you will find out, our board policies are set up in the Harvard model of governance, also known as policy governance. And we have every month, just about, we actually go through and monitor very specific policies to make sure that you are get a report from me about how we're doing and get a sense for how we're doing. There are a couple that don't come from you. One, it's direct observation. That's going to be around communication that happens in December. There is also monitoring my performance. Happens every other year. Instead of me getting a report, we actually contract out with an HR firm who does a 360 review of my performance, and that'll be coming in next January or February. So that will be a different type of report. So this one, the first one, is around community involvement, and this is kind of a neat one because it's wasn't the boilerplate report under the policy governance model. This is one of the board actually came up with, and you'll see that the way policy governance is written, they're written negative. And so that for this one, it's with respect to interaction with the community. The library director will not cause or allow conditions, procedures, or decisions that endanger the organization's public image or credibility, particularly in ways that would hinder its accomplishment of its mission. Accordingly, the director will not fail to explore partnerships, fail to seek public input, and fail to be visible in the community. And an important one, the negative piece, is what that means is everything that's not negative, I can do. So that's why it's effective to do that. If you wrote everything that I could do, each policy would be about 20 pages. So that's kind of the beauty of this, once you get used to that type of language. So you'll see in the first part, I talked about my involvement in the community. I am in my 16th year as director, and it takes a while to get involved in the community. You join organizations, do things, but I've definitely reached the point where I am very community. So, and that comes in a number of ways. You see the organizations I'm involved with. I've had leadership roles at various levels with many of these. And, but the one I'm kind of most proud of is before we started doing this before, people, I would get out in the community and meet people and they would say, oh, I know the library and maybe they have connections. And now I go out in the community and people are constantly telling me, oh, I just started free business resource from Lisa Shulman. I just connected with this person on something. And so that's the real beauty of the fact that our staff is out there and really making important connections. And so it's one of the things I try not to do when we give a report, it's to overload you with information so that it becomes so overwhelming that it doesn't need anything. Unfortunately for this one, I kind of purposely overwhelmed you because it is just amazing the types of connections we have. And I broke it into a couple of ways. One is kind of partner agencies that we work with. Some are very full-fledged, like Thrive from Oregon, memorandums of understanding with them, and some are kind of one-off. We partner with like Central Oregon Symphony. They come in and they do some art in public places for us. And so some may happen once or twice a year, some may happen constantly for a few years. And then there is the next piece, which is community visibility and presence at the end, which is how members of our staff are connected with the community. And again, that's another long list, but it's impressive to see not just that they're connected with the community, but they have leadership roles in organizations, not just here in Oregon, but across the state, some nationally. And so a really big piece of what we do. So this is actually the report I'm most proud of. That I take zero credit for anything in here. It's with our staff. I will also say, the thing that we try to do is bring in one or two these partners to speak with you, like Thrive Georgia did today. It's gotten to the point where so many of them, I'm finding them sprinkling in throughout the year, just so you get that sense of watching in action. I will also highlight something Thrive Oregon and most of these other agencies. A lot of this started for us around the Great Recession, where we realized we have limited funds. There are many things that we want to do. In order to meet our mission, we can't do it with the funding we have. We need to partner with other people that want to do similar things. And it was a wonderful time to do that because at the same time, a lot of other organizations were realizing the same thing. And so that has become a really big piece. You see that if we didn't have all these partnerships, it would be very limited as to what we do. We still have a significant impact with services that we have in our buildings and some of our outreach, but it wouldn't be there. I will say, which I should have said, my conclusion from this report is that we are in compliance with policy.
Have any questions from this extensive? Let's see.
Do you feel like you have a pretty good representation across the district organizations.
Yes, I think really, when we first started this, we had a lot of services in the shop. And you'll see if you look at this, we were really well connected, time, sisters, Sunriver, really in many ways. Yeah, just, that's the part where I think it's, wow, that is impressive that we're that connected. And smaller communities like Time or Sisters, when you're that connected, you'll see that there's a small group of people that get a lot done.
Yeah.
And when we're connected with that, it really from hearts.
Do you guys have, first of all, it's a really impressive list, that it's maybe it's sitting here all here in one place, and I want to shout this from the rooftops for everyone to know. Are there any organizations that you have on your radar that you're wanting to make connections with, in the near future?
Probably, the presentation later is a lot of what we do for our outreach is very targeted. So we've actually identified certain areas that we really make sure that we focus on. And so that, especially for our librarians, they do a lot of work to say, like, okay, we're trying to reach people that are seeing the senior population. So really looking at who can we meet? Are there agencies we have on that way? Are there agencies that we're working with right now and really bringing the benefit that we hope to have? But let's shift here. So kind of something we constantly like. Yeah, I don't have any like a big fish out there that we're trying to catch. And people are very happy to get to partner with the library. So it's kind of easy solve.
Yeah, I think we're discussing, it's a safe place and for help in life. I think that goes across a number of different types of agencies, and the fact that the staff is out in the community doing so many things, people know them personally, and so they, it's easier to ask somebody a question, know them because they've been at your meeting, you have some relationship with them. So it's been really successful. Because before, years ago, the library was pretty insular, just kind of did library things and wasn't really out there. The things that the board, well, how do we be at the table when decisions are made? Because we have something to offer. We have insights that some of these other agencies don't have in very specific ways. And I think today that's in space. I think you probably get asked to be on the things that you can be on this.
We start like for me, like getting involved in the community. We've found with our staff as well, that just showing up doesn't fully make that connection. A lot of times it takes 2 or 3 years of showing up regularly, being at basic meetings, and before you really start to build those connections. So that a lot of time invested there, you'll kind of notice that a lot of their staff have done that, and then at some point, all of a sudden you say, they're on board. So they're getting that need.
So if no one has any further questions, I would entertain a motion.
Find that the library is in compliance with the executive limitations of policy 3-C.
Second.
My second motion.
Any further discussion, questions? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, and now. Greg.
I mean, but-
Yeah, go ahead.
so with Oliver Bond project, I will say that a lot of training is a librarian, running libraries, not building buildings. And which is why we have the owners representative that works for us. That connects with construction companies, with our architect and design teams. And really kind of make sure that answers questions for us, clarify things for us, and really. As you will see and soon find out, we hit the jackpot when we started working with Red Crane. Greg Holcomb is our main representative. He's got a great staff that works with them as well. But they have really drive these projects that we've been doing to a great where it really help us question things that we might have looked over or encourage us with. I think, well, there's something we can to do. This is your building, act for. Greg is one thing you'll come to appreciate, and I think it's important for the board. We have $195 million bond project that came from bond that we passed to voters in November of 2020. And right now we are through a lot of the projects. We have remodeled the Sunriver library, the Pine Library, the Sisters Library. We built a new Redmond Library. Construction of the Central Library, and the last piece will be the downtown Bennett Library, and we've just kind of wrapped up the design process for that. Really, so it's a lot of responsibility from the board to be overseeing that big project. As you'll see from Greg's monthly report, going to give you a sense of progress and what's going on. Very informative, does a great job giving us information in the budget. And I highly recommend anytime you have questions, Greg is a great resource. So as he's going through his reports, please take advantage of that. And really, this is an opportunity for you to, no question is too many for a project like this. And don't assume that we've covered. So it's good to check in with it. So I'm going to hand it over to Greg and just let me know.
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you. Congratulations on the board. Today every month I do send it out as part of the board. So you read it, go over it, and then just talk about what's in there. One of the things I gave you is the abbreviations and acronyms, which is you will see I use and our industry using. And again, please do feel free to ask any question. Not a lot of me actually are good. Oh, you know, one of the things that we did it in the very beginning is to talk figured out how we're going to selecting contractors and team members and stuff, and it's through a process. Securing construction management, CGC methodology. It's a way that you select contractors based on qualifications and experience, and it's really to build teams. And that's why the very first statement is about the health of our teams, and what we really strive to do is build really strong, healthy teams that are good open communication, deal with the issues in all construction and development projects. You have a lot of things to design new construction. So I think that team after going on 4+ years continues this day as a really good solid group of people who are working well together and continue to do that. We do a lot of team building events throughout the year, making sure we have good communication going. So it's always something that I look to see, are we getting along and are we being productive? executing the work. So the next section is about scheduling. So we do master development scheduling. It's a detailed schedule, really everything that we're going to do for the bond products. And then we get construction schedules from general for each of the projects. And so try to hit the highlights of what's going on. So like with the branches, sisters, Holcomb, Sunriver, for the most part, they're done. But as we go through the 1 year key period, we address issues with our contractors and vendors. We work with the district on pay things that aren't working. We find that can we adjust them, make it striving to make sure that at the end of the bond program, district gets as much value, and they have facilities that are in 25 plus years, and beyond that, you don't get a lot of bonds approved. So that's what's going on with those, there's right along. Redmond is in a similar position in that it's done, it's open. We have a number of additional work things that we want to do on the projects, and sometimes it's because we felt like we chose one path, maybe to save money, to not overspend it, and then we identify later on that, hey, there's funds available. Would we like to implement it? Or we find that something is quite functioning the way it needs to function for the district, use it, and we can adjust. And that's kind of the position we're in at Redmond, and moving through that. So we're doing a few things that we waited until the summer to do. And so those are moving right up. See, time driven. Central is truly driving our Holcomb, because as it goes in downtown goes, it's direction directed. That's what's going on with closing of East Bend and relocation of staff from 3 locations. Coming out of the administration building and downtown and then the East Bend. So Scott said we're halfway through construction. Construction is going to be complete in December, and then January start the next phase, which is a bunch of furniture, fixtures, and equipment. And so that's the tables, chairs, all the shelving, as you can see here in Lumber, putting all the collection, moving staff in, training staff, and a lot of this is vendors, but a lot of it's the district staff coming in and getting ready to open. And for Central, that's a 4.5 month process that we go through. And it's a very, very busy time. I'm sure we could use 6 months for one. But we couldn't do that. So let's look at, and every week we get an update here on the general contractor. We meet with them once a week in our OECs, and they give us a weekly update of what's going on and what's progress is, and then a deeper look every year. We're tracking construction wise right to their schedule. It is tracking on time. I would say they got the work they need to do. When you look at schedules, it's the critical path activities, and that's the shortest period to finish. But we have a lot of activities on the critical path, so we don't have too much flow. They use Kirby Bagel has a general contractor on Central and doing a really good job, really good staff. Organize their staff to make sure that they have ample supervision on the side to manage. Any day when you walk out, there can be 100, 125 workers, tradesmen on that side. They only from 10 to 20 different sub, a lot of coordination and oversight, quality, making sure things are getting done on time, ensure it's something. It's progressing well. Preparation can be at that need. Installation is moving real well. So that is, we purchased all the shelving, it's in fabrication. with our vendors, same with all of the furniture. Finalized all of our contracts and POs coming out, and so they're at the manufacturing now, EMA and the furniture vendors tracking every piece. You can imagine when you look at furniture, there's hundreds of pieces. Sometimes one chair making 2 or 3 suppliers and get a send. And so that process is going on as well as things like our early automated material handling system. There's a variety of all those things. In-play right now, I think we have planning sessions that have been going on for the last 4 months. With one of our staff members who oversees a lot of the move activity in that. That's been a very active component of what's going on with DPS. It takes a lot of time. How do you move all these people? Keep them doing their day job every day and get them set up in full new environment. So a lot of that going there, very comfortable with where we're on the schedule and we're trying to, we'll do another update to our master development exchange twice a year and we'll probably update your office. So we'll talk about that as we update. Downtown Bend is in plan check, so the design is complete. We've gone through the first round of the building plan check with the city of Bend. Got their comments, made corrections, resubmitted them back into the city for second review. And so we'll look to secure approvals and permits here in the next 3 to 4 months. We also utilize that plans that established with the GMP guaranteed maximum price with our general on that, which is very big as well. And so we, last month at the board meeting, we approved their GMP and we're actually just finalizing the paperwork and getting it executed. They're starting to hire. And one of the goals was to get as much work done before they start. So they start next April when we officially close the library down in Bend because everybody's moved into Central. And they'll start their construction work, but between now and then, they're purchasing materials, getting shop rents, skills and stuff done. So even though it doesn't seem like there's a effort and schedule, it's really critical. First, to take advantage without being you always are concerned about getting burned up again and stuff, and they have been passing yesterday as well as some vendors. So we really try to push that and finish quickly and get it down there. So that's kind of where we're in schedule. Big picture, tracking right to our schedule. We're happy with that. On the budget side, you probably noticed that there are no budget adjustments this month, and partly because over the last couple months, I made adjustments to the budget. So, there's a budget report that goes with my summary here that shows you what is allocated to each of the different projects. And so we set the bond program up for work packages. And those work packages are the Central Library, Stevens Branch, the Redmond Library, Downtown Bend, and then the group of branches together. And that was to really try and have better purchasing power on smaller branches by grouping together. We had one general contractor who did all of that for us. I was some notes to go. Then we have a fifth category, which is general administrative costs, and that is costs that are really close everything. Things like alloy costs are in there, collection, buying collection, buying our district, for much. And so there's a few of those. So you'll see those different budgets that are established. Currently, we're tracking 2 more budgets. We're looking, very healthy on those. One of the things that we do have is contingencies built up. And we have contingencies that are assigned to each of the project budgets. And then we have master reserve contingency, which is funds that we have available, but we are not forecasting to use, is really where I sit. And so there's a contingency report in there as well, and it helps to summarize how much contingency we have in each of the projects and how much we have in total. So in total, there's 16 million in our contingency today, it's a little over 7%. And for me, as a owner's rep and in the development world, that's a really healthy contingency level. And it's important because as we manage the project, beginning we established budgets and did what's started value design into your budget. And one has helped us to prevent large overruns and the need to do large amounts of cost-cutting measures. We dealt with, I think the other benefit was that in the sources of funds, there's a line item in there that it's the interest earned. And so when the bonds were sold at the beginning, all of that money was then received and put into an interest-bearing account. Over time, the district benefited as the market shot after COVID, there was a much higher rate of return. And then the return, it's just been a benefactor and it allowed that money to grow. You can see there's about 1 million or so that was it generated through that interest earned. So that is really helped to build that reserve contingency. Each month, I look at our budget and update it and provide budget reports to the district and go through them and talk about them and then report here any changes, and you'll see pluses and minuses and what's going on. So, and the reports that are meant to help give you and look into those numbers. We have highly detailed reports that go lines and lines, but this is to get some. The procurements and contract, one of the things we do is everything, there's limitations that we have to bring bottom to the board, request for an authorization to execute a contract, add change orders to spend money. And so we'll normally do those probably almost every month. There'll be some months there's 5 or 6, and months there's 0 this month. A lot of them has been completed because so much of our work is already under contract. Now it's making adjustments. So we're current with all of our vendors. I mean, everybody in the contract, change orders, all of them. So you'll see them pop up as we go along with everything's in there. Insurance, what was practiced is the risks associated with the big bond development. This the district has a really good insurance broker that we work with, Brown & Brown, and you'll see their BB and abbreviations. And we carry a district sponsored insurance plan, which is ESIP, it's a liability plan. Everything we need sponsored for all districts. Really large level of coverage as well as builder's risk insurance policies used at each. Those are all from haven't had any points against them, and all of the vendors are enrolled in programs. They're functioning well. We have an administrator who monitors every vendor, make sure that the insurance they're to maintain is still put in place and that they're signed up and in full programs. None of the law. But it's a pretty static thing, which is good. Yeah. From design and construction aspect, Central is all about construction, very well design at this point. That there's not a lot other than driven by the schedule. Kirby said is continuing to build. She's going in, manufacturing or other components. So that's really good as you build, you generate issues and issues and things like that. And as what's going on, large changes or things anticipated at this point, the Redmond Library really just close out activities, same with the branch libraries. And then again, in downtown Bend, that one where design is significantly complete, going to check, but one of the things that we've done, and it's been continuing from branch library all the way through, is constantly lessons learned and looking at what's working, what's not, and sometimes we go, we think it's gonna work, and then once we open and all the source command staff come in, we find this didn't quite work as well, or it's not maintaining as well. And so we try to constantly upgrade. So I would expect over this year, as we're getting ready to finalize purchase orders and contracts, or I think an email for downtown there. We're gonna look back and say, okay, we captured all those adjustments and changes that we made. So if there's any place we have a little bit of design work, it's gonna be in really an evaluation of our design, making sure we capture all sorts of things. Science standpoint, or we're actually, I would consider us a very exceptional payer of our bills. We receive all the invoices in monthly from all our vendors, it's packaged up, and generally it gets, after we get the package assembled and issued to the district, most vendors are paid within 2 weeks. And so we're a very prompt pay organization, and that is really good benefits, because we demand a lot of our trades, and so that, and you don't see a lot. And at the end of that, I don't know if that changed the words more, other than the model. It's generally gone really smooth. I think that's a benefit of the Roberts group and his work and how we set up our cash management and cash flow. So that's the last part of what we try to put in photos, and I don't know if you try clicking on the links in the report. They should open up where you can see videos and pictures. And so, of course, it's all about Central. There's stuff that we get in Kirby or Channel. We take photos. My project manager up there who does a photo of all. And then we also get videos from the developed Stevens Ranch, and one, because we want to know how are they progressing around us, and what's it going to be like when we open. Some of their work has to be completed to open. One of those, and why we always see a video of 27 screen.
Yes.
That is it. One about we can, and so they're really close. It's been very good city, but city. I'm sure the city is making sure they can everything. Once they take possession of the city owned, and so what they did here today, John Kirby has a meeting with the developers contract here this week to talk about the opening 27th, which could be in 2 weeks, and then closing on Santorini, which is the bypass right there in Driven. And because once they got to take out the temporary parts and do some additional work in Santorini to get it ready for permanent use in the future years. But the developers moving right along, they're developing some townhome sites that are immediately across the street from Santorini. Seeing the pictures, they really got the lots built out. They're finishing the last group of them for that whole stage. You're saying they have a builder who's going to be getting ready to start up those towns. So I think that helps bring energy to neighborhood, we're ready to start. Opening the next things. Clean up, the overall, maybe a little more than that, but just think of right, see questions about what we're doing.
Just wanted to say thank you for such a clear and thorough update. This is really helpful. I was curious, when you're talking about insurance, I assume it's covering the subcontractors, but when it comes to this, do we have insurance on the building while it's being constructed? For example, if there was a lot. What does that?
We do, it's called builder's risk insurance, so it's insurance coverage, put in place during the course of construction. And so there's individual policies for each project. And we actually even put a special policy in place that covers the work that we do. We just did a sewer repair, or sewer line, so it was there. But that policy is for those types of things. If there's a fire, if there's something that happens to the building, it's the fund that pays to repair it and rebuild.
I'm curious to know, you might have this in other meetings, but what were some of the takeaways from the red to your point of tools and central down?
Yeah.
Just because of the similarity of scale,
Yeah.
those projects.
One of the control systems. Controls, so we're being so lighting controls, mechanical controls. And how some of the mechanical systems to be put together, where we found issues that we wanted to make sure from a construction standpoint that those came over. I think there was some of the really big things in construction, some furniture and shelving. I've had a lot of improvements to those. Especially when our shelving system, from when we first started, that it has carried with towards the early learning and seeing here that some of those things is the abuse that they take from me. That's the right abuse.
Yeah.
Yes. So we finishes and so they function sometimes for the staff. It was a new kind of layout, how shelving was going, signage was gonna go. But we went and do decimal to wayfinders, and that changed, things were done and changed how we did signage completely, and we changed their speech. And there are some of the finishes, like the top countertops, the technical countertops. Do we really run some living areas and some of them just change to solid surface materials? And there's probably things that really changed. Construction wise and constructability, there was a lot of lessons in how they were building things and where it's like you need to pay more attention to this contractor here because this is harder than they had. It's taking more effort. And that's a real value benefit of Kirby Nagel's been 3 big projects. And so their team has internal lessons learned. We have had some consistency with sending very substance moments like, hey, you should try this guy doing it. Oh, watch this guy doing it. So I think there's lessons learned that they took, especially in the skin of the in metal panel system and the glasses, of how some of those things went. I mean, public building systems, we should provide.
It must be really nice to you learn so much the first time you do something, so we get to redo it and do it each time.
Yeah, one of the things is selection of a single control for the whole program. And so it's a partnership in all partners at Seattle and Steel, associates here at Ben. And that consistency, same design engineers, same architects, they are learning what the district likes, but also how things can be common. And there's a lot of systems that we ask them to make sure that, hey, we want the same system throughout. So that those control systems, so that when as Robert and this guy maintaining, it's the same controls no matter where you go, as much as possible. As much, and I think it also puts staff in their mind in here, they're in one building versus another, they change and function and sell, getting on the day.
I was not able to get the photos to load for me this time, and I don't know if it's because I didn't get a chance to look at them until last night. Or it's just the links for me, but so that I have those reset.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Rob? Normally he has like a sheet of things that we have to prove. This is like, you got a good explanation, it's been.
So I say, I don't think we know, but there are spending things that come along with this, and for each one, very detailed memo describing what we need, asking the board for authorization you need to bet. And so we just did 6 of those last meeting. So setting that with the record.
Yeah, I mean, the reports at the end, there's different things that people wanted to make sure that we kept track of. Particularly the contingency funds and things like that, to make sure, because we wanted to really make sure that we didn't run out of money in the end. Do it down and because that's when it's a very important project, obviously. But Greg has managed to just through that well. They've done a really good job of materials ahead of time so that we didn't get caught in price changes and things like that, and it's the challenging with them down, but even they've been stuff crazy for that as well. So there's been a lot of smart construction management that has put us in the great position.
And I agree with Dunkelberg.
Yes.
Just incredibly low, and then the immediately shot up and we were sitting on cash and.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, we had advice of that too, but yes. So, yeah, it's a complicated project and there's so many levels to it, like Greg said, the insurance, the levels. Others of the cost checking to make sure that estimates are correct. The levels of oversight are incredible, so it's been a big thing for all of us. But he's been steering us through it and answered all of our questions, which there have been a lot. Okay, so next up is a correction. So Tom,
This would be the easiest decision. So when we did the resolution about the budget last month, we keep a binder full of all the resolutions, and we realized the very next day that resolution 24 was stuck on the back of resolution 23. And once we killed those apart, we realized we used. So we should have been using resolution number 24 to fix that. As I said in my memo, check with our attorney. They said it's just a clerical error, just do this motion. But then also check with the Department of Revenue, which could have made it very difficult. And thank God they said, oh yeah, it's just. So that's all we need to do is after the resolution changing it from 23 to 24. Any questions? Pretty fair.
I wasn't.
If I talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Well, I would entertain a motion.
So the resolution 23, adopting the library amendment to resolution. Correct. Error.
Your second,
Second.
all those in favor? Aye. Should pass. Okay. And then this is another housekeeping thing where we have to have signing authority, so this is a matter of filling in the blanks, based on action. So,
Just to highlight, we do make it so that all board members have the ability to, authorize, our payments. And we'll be going into that orientation about what that looks like. And basically, it's you're the third check and balance in the system. Robert, his staff, set up our payments, I check through those. And the board checks them, and then that's part of what we did in here. Consent agenda today. Proving all the payments we've done since the last board meeting. So anyway, that a couple of things will happen with this. We will add in here board president and Mahnke, and then each of your names to this. And the other piece is we will be hunting you down to get your signatures for bank account. Speaking forward.
So I would entertain a motion to approve resolution number 25. As it will be completed.
I move to adopt resolution 29.
Those in favor? Aye. That's unanimous. Now we're going to library news where it updates us on what's going on.
First of all, we introduce people, starting our business service manager, he covers our facility findings for the district. And then we have Chantal Scroll, who's our assistant director of community engagement. And we have Ray Hat, who is our time library supervisor. And Lynn Millenstein, our assistant director of library operations. As you will see through our intention, we have 115 people on staff, and you just met.
And sometimes we have attendees virtually as well.
This is an exciting.
Okay.
Here. Prepare these meetings. Great one. That lady. Are the winner. The DJZ, which is
Dave.
Daily Child Partners. Yep. Oregon. Nonprofit. That's for red. There you
Very.
I think they make their decision.
So they have a lot of categories. DJC really everybody uses it extensively, but for new construction, remodel, et cetera, quality of construction. You know, they actually come out and look at the buildings and for innovative ways. So like our use of mass timber, the way we pursue lead as being a lead certified facility or to be lead certified on energy usage. How it is utilized within the overall community. You know, as a library, it supports the community and. Because there's some buildings that you build a building and it's can be a shed. They're looking for what is beneficial to the overall community. As well as the users of that. That's the kind of broad corruption. There's having.
And we got, I don't, did you go to the?
So they show that was a project manager.
So it's like,
That
it's like, they got.
yeah, it's actually a fairly large. I think there's 60 different projects, right? Because of the number of cabins. Categories. Private versus public. And then various types of commercial, residential. Yeah.
How much of the TikTok video would be?
I want to highlight, since you can't be a library board, you move the books. We need it. See, see that. Oh, I did send out a message to you all about our in-service day in August. And I'm coming to a challenge. And that is if 3 of you gather, that's an official board meeting. And I'm struggling to come up with a way to do that because there are new laws where we have to have Zoom recordings and allow the public have to be able to meeting. Well, our staff day is a closed session. We don't want to bring in the public. So I haven't figured out a way around this. I'm still working with it, but I may narrow this down to 2 board members. Unless I can come up with some creative way to get us in there. What we'll be doing at that meeting as our staff is going to be brainstorming could the future of libraries be. And we're in session in September with the board where we're talking about the future of libraries. So I thought that would be a good connection for you. So just give you a heads up on that. Think about that. If you're one that was going to be a challenge to be there, don't feel like you need to bend over backwards to get there because you may be saving it to the challenge. Good questions. Probably be about a 1 to 2 hour session, probably in the afternoon. Yes, in Redmond.
Okay.
Yeah. All linked up and yeah, one thing. Oh well, I like. What I do help support your to be able to for your education. You may have seen I've sent out at least 1 workshop at special districts. Oregon is doing, we're doing special districts. Oregon is real. And they have great board trainings, even as we go through orientation, we'll look at that. Not all of it's some years in person, there's a lot of resources you can get online as well. Some cases, we actually get credits off of our insurance bills. If you attend trainings, I think we're in good shape this year. They change every year with the credit. So some years I'll be like twisting your arms to take some kind of 2-hour seminar because it's going to save us a lot of money. But anyway, there's 10-1, there's a board training that's coming up in August. And then also a really great way to get to know about libraries, particularly library conferences. The Oregon Library Association has an annual conference every year, it's usually in April. The American Library Association meets once a year, and that usually in June, the end of June. And then every 2 years, the Public Library Association meets, this is a national. And that one I highly recommend. I think next year is. Library is really good. They make sure to go wherever the weather's usually worse.
Either in blizzards or it's Portugal.
If you want to join the medical board.
Yeah.
And Mahnke just went to the American Library Association. And so this is
Yeah.
also a chance for you to tell us.
Yeah, well, the board agreed, previous iterations of the board agreed that we should do a little report when we get back and share it, and, which I think is great, and I would really echo what Todd just said. These are incredible learning opportunities, for us as board members, because they allow us to get beyond our little bubble of what we're doing here and see what other libraries around the United States and world are doing. And what challenges they're facing and how they're addressing those challenges and what successes they're having and how to achieve those successes. So this one was in Philadelphia. It was a really good conference, but it was fairly depressing. Because it was a continuation of the kind of the onslaught against libraries. And a couple of years ago, I went to one in Chicago, and it was the big upsurging book bans had just started, book challenges. And then it was kind of a call to action, and what are we gonna do? And really outlining what was going on in the country and lots of speakers to that effect. It's continued over the last 2 years, so the good news is that there's a ton of resources available. People have really gotten, librarians are incredibly resourceful people. And so, and people that care about libraries have gotten together, so there are First Amendment groups, there are library focused groups. I mean, there's just all kinds of groups, and there's you have 2 copies of this list, but it's really educational as far as the resources that they've got. And so a lot of the sessions were based around publicizing these resources. And here's what you should have in place to protect your library from First Amendment challenges. And we're really lucky because we have Emily O'Neill here, who serves as the Freedom to Read coordinator for OLA throughout the state. And there's a cohort of librarians nationally that have been trained in First Amendment law, and she is a member of that first cohort. So she attended the conference as well as this first group of librarians, and then they're going to go out and train other librarians, which is really neat that one of the staff members is a part of that. So there's a lot of, I put in some information. There's continuing book challenges. There are the big changes, I think, have been in there way more attempts legislatively to curtail what libraries can do. Like as far as book restraints on libraries. And then in the past, librarians have always been kind of in a protected class when it comes to First Amendment challenges where they could be held criminally liable. And states are passing laws to eliminate those protections. So librarians themselves are being targeted with jail time, with fines. There's a lot of other mechanisms in place where libraries are at risk of really large legal costs, defending themselves against challenges, and some other things involving, acceptance of federal funding. That can be potentially put the libraries at risk. But as I said, there's a lot of good resources out there explaining all of this, and luckily we have not been too affected by this, and, but it's great information to have. But in addition to all of that, there were great speakers at these conferences. I got to hear Brene Brown, and they had Carla Hayes, the Library of Congress librarian, who was just let go, and she just got this standing ovation that, I mean, it was thousands of libraries, and it just went on, and it's pretty. So the good news is that there are so many people out there that are protecting their freedom to read, that are standing up for the importance of libraries in society today, that it really is inspirational to see the work that's being done across the United States. So that's just kind of a short snippet, but I hope you all can take advantage of joining these, because it's really eye-opening and just incredible. So that's what I've been on here. Thank you. And your sucker is from the conference, that is free swag. Yeah, just as a description of the resources, so feel free to ask some questions if you have any, if you have a chance to look through that. And then typically we have a board member who serves as a member of our foundation board at all, as well as on the library board, and we've done this over the years to make sure that we have good communication and good linkage between the board and the foundation, because that's not true in all cases for all library systems, and it can cause problems, and we've been really lucky that we have a great foundation and we have a great board. So the past, Betsy has been filling this seat. And so she provides a short report, and I understand it's going to be passed over to Michelle.
Very short, because I was just at the beginning foundation meeting. So I had some review. And Rand Burglar was recognized, his term ended. And it was sort of a tiny bit of time. And so I was with it. Over Michelle, and she will be our new representative. And I'm super happy to do that. I've been on the foundation for 3 years. So it's nearly time. So it would be fun to be a liaison, to be able to communicate what is happening in our meetings, to the extent that. Yeah, I think we should probably connect in terms of just understanding what's involved, then also keeping you guys in terms of what patient is working on too, because I think there's enough synergy in terms of what we want with libraries and how we can work together.
Well, thank you for wearing both hats, and it's good for us, because that way the foundation will be mad that we're stealing. Like,
She was treasurer.
Yeah, we can't pay, yes.
Yeah. It's treasure. It's just like. Good, yeah, but there's a lot of work to be done here.
We are excited to have both of you, and as Todd said, looking towards doing this future tasking, which is another good reason to go to conferences, because they keep you about those sorts of things as well. What's coming in the future for the library. I mean, I feel like we've been so focused on these construction projects because we've had to, we're so lucky that we get to do this stuff. But it's taken a lot of board time, it's taken a lot of the staff time, it's been involved has been incredible. The success of these buildings is due to the hard work the staff has put in for these past 5 years, so this board is gonna be the board that, once we get these buildings put in place, is gonna take us into the future. And we have a chance to see how these buildings are being used, what opportunities we have because of the systems we've put in place. We've done our best to really future-proof these buildings and to forecast how they might be used, but there's gonna be a ton of opportunities that they open up for ways that we can expand service to the public. And so this is gonna be the group that is gonna start that process, so it's a great time to be. We're very excited.
One of the keys, I just wanted. When we talk about 3 board members being together, that becomes a public meeting. When we do the orientation sessions, there will be 3. So you may see that I'll be posting like, hey, we're meeting. It's not really that big a deal, it just may mean that we have a Zoom session going, if somebody wants to observe, they can. Otherwise, nothing special is happening there. I doubt we would have people interested in it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I will have orientation schedules and topics every day, see it sensible. But I think she is, I'm sorry, I was on vacation too, but she was organizing that. So you may have to go while you're invited. Yes. Oh.
So the last thing we do each meeting is called self-review of the meeting. Now, this is one of those archaic things where we started it at the behest of our management consultant. And it was to evaluate how we functioned as a board with the Carver model. Did we adhere to the policy governance rules that we're supposed to adhere to? And then Todd has a chance to chime in and also say, yes, you did or didn't. And this is just sort of evolved over time because we do a pretty good job, I think, adhering to, but that is an important part of the self-review. Once you learn about the Carver system, if you see us going off the rails during the meeting and trying to micromanage what's going on in the library, that's not a good thing. So be sure to speak up. But I thought Betsy had a really good suggestion of expanding this to kind of do good of the order type of a thing. And that can include library related activities that we've been involved in, things that we learned about, maybe an article that you read that you thought other people might learn from. It can be all manner of things, and we want to keep it brief because usually it's at the end of this meetings and Greg has exhausted us with him. So, we don't want to go on and on, but to just kind of give you, if that makes sense. Do you have anything you would add, Betsy? Because I can be sure I.
Was just observe to our self-review of the meeting. We were all saying the same thing, basically. Here are some numbers. So that was. Is there a way we could make this a little bit, I don't know. Yes, more. And so I don't have to be writing, say something different, revisions, but it would be, and I don't, for me personally, I would love a little to make sure I'm doing what I want to do, which is being involved in library activities and thinking about the library once a month. And so it's going to be this.
Right, because I think it's really important for us as board members to be involved in the libraries and for people in the libraries to know who we are, to know that we're interested So that we can see firsthand what's going on, how our buildings are being used, what's going on in programming. Just to be present, because that's part of the job. So, do you need to start that thing? Yes.
I guess just a short story. I was at a finance, government finance officers conference this last week, and I happened to sit next to a woman who is finance, the CFO, of some sort of like district in Ohio. And she also sits on the state's board for libraries, and we were in Washington DC. I forgot to mention that. And she was talking about how she was actually touring the Capitol, the history of our country, when the governor called her to talk about some of the things that were brought up at your conference. Ohio is legislation that they're talking about putting certain books away so that not everybody that visits the library can access it. So she was talking about what an interesting experience it was for her to be in the Capitol, talking to the challenge that they were facing. Anyways, interesting story. Just share that.
Yes, that's great, thank you. Michelle, do you have anything?
I would just say that Anne, appreciate all the hand holding everyone's doing for us for this first meeting. I don't know how you feel, I feel. The exposure from the foundation perspective, so but I just am so excited to be a part of this board, to support all of the good work. Activity, you guys are amazing. Every time I learn, you know, continue to just appreciate all of the work and love that staff puts into making our libraries such a resource. So yeah, I don't have a tidbit, but I'm having a gratitude. So thank you, Shane.
I love a moment of gratitude. So feel great to be here, and I'm very excited. I had the joy of going to a children's book conference in Portland this past month, and that's in the capacity of being a bookseller. But we had a keynote speaker who was Michael Reeds, who is this very public-facing children's librarian from the Bay Area, California. He really kind of advocates for inclusivity in libraries and finding places where kids can see themselves belonging. And his sort of catchphrase is library. And I found that to be just a really nice thing to hold, especially during kind of a tumultuous year. And as you were sharing, and there's a sense of kind of hopefulness that can come out of some really challenging situations. And so I'm excited to be able to kind of live in this space of life for a little bit and bring that into our.
I'm actually gonna tag on to that because, and it's a little bit of a personal story. School's out for the summer and some of my kids were here tonight and our exchange student went back to Spain yesterday. And so we've been very focused on making sure it's a one-on-one connection with us. It's hard to say goodbye after you spent 10 months with somebody. And so our youngest, do you want to do on your date with him this week? And she wanted to go to the library because it is her tranquil place. And so I think she thought tonight was. Not exciting. So I still love. But that's what she chose. Screen, not. Anything until next. That's pretty exciting, but that's what she chooses.
Well, this is making me feel really joyful. Reese, I was walking down it is this huge convention, there's 15,000 librarians there. And I'm walking down the hall and he's walking towards me. And I go, oh. And he just is such a wonderful person. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm in the state library as well as this board, and so there's a lot from the statewide that I will look for back in future meetings, but yeah, so that gives us a good plug in to what's statewide as well. We're really lucky here in Deschutes and to have the public support and have such a fantastic staff, and we're so.
If you want to highlight, take some pressure off of you, we have over 365 programs a year at the library. So when we say go to a program, don't try to go. Never get it. Yeah, I just want to welcome our new board members. Very excited to have a new board that's really energized at a time when we're going through some really big changes. And it's just a perfect time to start out, and we're also going to be looking at where we've spent so many years working with these building projects, what are we going to do in the future? And so I'm really looking forward to this.
Okay, and with that, I think we're done. All right, close the meeting. Thank you, everybody.